Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to improve your BJJ strength and conditioning. On the mat, you get hurt and banged up a lot less, and ultimately you can stay on the mat for a very long time. So let's face it, the longer and more frequently be on the mat, the better off. So I'm going to talk about three really important things. I'm going to talk about strength training, why it's so important for BJJ athletes, especially older athletes. I'm going to talk about aerobic training and conditioning. I'm going to talk about recovery habits, and they all kind of intertwine together to create the result we're looking for. So we can be more dominant on the mat, get hurt less, and that we can train for a very long time. Now, a lot of times when I talk jiu-jitsu, I try to talk with the older grappler in mind. I'm kind of middle-aged. I'm 36 years old. And one of the things I feel like when it comes to strength and conditioning for BJJ, there's a lot of information, but it's more geared towards younger guys who are very competitive, who want to be like professional BJJ guys, and competitors, and not enough for guys who just really love it and they want to stay healthy so they can do this hobby for a long period of time. So that's my goal. That's my goal for this video. So let's dive right in. So let's talk about strength. So there's three specific reasons why strength training is really important. For me, and I think the most important reason is because it's just going to it's from an injury prevention standpoint. If you're weaker, all right, and you have less muscle around your joints, you're more fragile. Someone lands on you the wrong way, you get in these awkward positions, you're just going to get hurt a lot less. So if you build strength, if you build muscle, especially build muscle around our most vulnerable areas, our shoulders, our neck, our knees, our hips, that's really going to fight off a lot of major injuries so that we can train frequently. And then if you do get banged up or you have these minor injuries, you'll usually recover a lot faster versus the smaller weaker guy. So when I say strength training, we want to focus more on compound exercises with great form, and we're not ego lifting. We're pushing the resistance, but we're doing it with weights that we can handle. And then another reason why strength training is important is just going to help us be very dominant on the mat. And it's not that you're using too much strength, but every movement that we do is basically strength. And if you have more strength behind your techniques, you're gonna be able to pull up more techniques. So you can get more submissions, because there's always a certain level of strength behind every technique, which is why sometimes certain techniques for stronger guys are a lot easier. And the same is true. Like if you're a very flexible guy, say that there's techniques that a very flexible guy can do a lot easier, or a smaller guy can do versus like a stronger guy. So there's always a level of strength. So don't buy into the camp where like you're not using any strength with jiu-jitsu. If you have more strength behind your techniques, and it's not like you're muscling the technique, but just having more strength, you're going to pull off techniques more, and you're gonna get submissions more. And the third thing, this is a little weird one, but it's actually improve your conditioning. So when we're trying to improve our conditioning for BJJ, yeah, we need a good aerobic base. We need to do cardio if our cardio is poor. But what we don't understand is how much our relative strength and muscular endurance plays a role in that condition. So two major points I want to talk about with this is that if you are a very weak person, every technique you do uses a large percentage of your max strength. Which means that your muscles will get fatigued, you'll build up lactic acid, you won't be able to hold on to these positions, and your heart rate's going to go through the roof, and you're going to get gassed really, really quickly. And part of this is having good technique, but being weak doesn't make this easier. So if you get stronger over time, you're going to start to use a smaller percentage of your maximum strength, and you're going to be able to hold positions for longer, so you get more subs. Your muscles aren't going to get fatigued as fast, and your heart rate is going to stay lower so that you can do more rounds. You'll be more productive rounds, because if our heart rate goes high and we get fatigued, that's when we make stupid mistakes. That's when we do stupid things. That's when we get so tired that's very hard to use good technique. So those are the three reasons why you want to make sure that you have some type of strength program in your workout. I have a bunch of articles on that. I'll post a link below to this. But the three reasons why we want to include strength training are injury prevention, we have more strength behind our technique, and we'll have better conditioning. All right, so the next one is aerobic training. Now, when it comes to building cardio for BJJ, a lot of times people say things like kettlebells, HIIT, and usually people will say this who really don't know anything about like strength and conditioning and fitness and the human body and energy systems. But the aerobic system is like your foundation. If you have a poor aerobic fitness, even if you do a bunch of HIIT, recovery is always going to be an issue. You're going to have a hard time recovering between rounds, which means you'll take way too many rounds off, and you're going to get beat up very quickly. So the three things I want to talk about with aerobic training: your heart, so that your body can be more efficient, how it improves your endurance, and how it improves your recovery. So when we do aerobic training, so aerobic training is like a moderate intensity. Like you're sweating, you're breathing a little bit, but you're not. You should be able to talk. You should be able to talk normal. And this is an important fact because we need it to be at a low enough intensity so that our heart basically fills with blood and then it pumps to the rest of the body. And what happens is what will end up happening is by letting the blood fully fill the heart, our heart chamber will grow bigger. And what this allows us to do is basically pump more oxygenated blood, which is going to give us better endurance per pump. Now, if you don't have that in your heart base, if you don't have that big volume of heart to pump, basically what your heart has to do is it has to pump really, really, really fast to keep up with it. And when you do that, guess what? Your heart rate goes up, and that's when you get smoked. That's when you get winded. That's when you get gas. So by improving your aerobic fitness, we enlarge that chamber so we can deliver more oxygen and blood to the rest of the body. So by doing this, we give our body better endurance, so that we can basically do things for longer. We can grapple for longer. We can walk for longer. We can jog for longer. We can do so many things for longer. And basically, how we train the system is we want to keep a heart rate between about 65 to 70% of a max heart rate. So a quick equation that usually works for most people is take 180 minus your age. And so when you're doing these aerobic sessions, that should be your average heart rate. And now it doesn't really matter what you use as long as you stay within that range. But I would say things that don't cause a high level of blood pressure are going to be best. So sometimes people do like cardio, like say strength circuits for their cardio, and that can have a place, but you want like more cyclical things where you repeat the same movement where there's not a lot of blood pressure. So things like walking, jogging be okay, but if you're an older guy, usually that's not the best for your knees, ankles, and hips. I prefer doing aerobic training on joint-friendly machines. Like I like the air bike a lot. The rower is really good because it's a combination of using your upper body and lower body, which is a lot of what jiu-jitsu is. So it's a little more specific to jiu-jitsu. That's one I like. You can do the elliptical. I like walking around with a heavy sled. Even things like farmers walks can be good. And this type of training, because it's in order to adapt to it, you need to about 30 to 60. You need to do this for like 20 to 60 minutes per session, which can get boring. So instead of just doing like say 30 minutes on the bike, I like to do it in circuits. So maybe you do 5 minutes on the air bike, 5 minutes on the rower, 5 minutes of the sled drag, and you repeat that maybe 2 or 3 times. Another thing you can do to make this less boring is you go on a machine it's a little easy to maintain that heart rate, and you just pull out your tablet. You can watch movies, TV shows, whatever you like. Sometimes I watch fights. And again, that's another way to not make it boring. The great thing about this is once you build this system, you don't have to do that much work. So at first, maybe you should try to do this like 2 or 3 times a week for like maybe 6 to 12 weeks. But then after that, just doing like 1 session per week, you're going to be able to maintain a lot of the benefits that you get from this. And the last thing from the aerobic training side that I want to talk about is recovery. Is if your aerobic system is in charge of your body's ability to recover. If you have a poor aerobic fitness, you have poor recovery. And I'm talking about recovery as a as a broad statement. So if you think of you do a hard round in the gym and then you have that like 60 seconds before you do the next round, like if you have a better aerobic fitness, your heart rate drops fast and you can recover. And then you're one of those guys who aren't sitting on the edge of the mat drinking water. You're one of those guys walking around the mat because you're ready to go in like 30 seconds. It's also going to improve your recovery in between your workouts. So if you're someone who gets beat up sore after jiu-jitsu sessions, if you improve your aerobic fitness, you'll experience less of that and you'll recover faster. And this will allow you to train longer and also allow you to train frequently. So I'm someone who trains like 6 days a week. I get like 8 sessions a week, and I've been doing this for about 4 years. And I'm able to do this because I have good aerobic fitness. I also have good strength. So if you want to recover in between rounds and also in between workouts and just in life in general, building your aerobic fitness is a really important thing to do. And I'll leave you guys with this: is a quick way to determine if you need to work on your aerobic fitness is wake up first thing in the morning. Test your rest and heart rate, and do it for a few days so you get like an average. If it's high 60s or above, you probably have poor aerobic fitness. If it's low 60s and below that, you probably have a decent level of fitness. So if you have a poor level of fitness, I'd at least try to get 2 cardio sessions a day for maybe like 6 to 12 weeks just so you can develop that. Then you can taper back. If you're someone on the lower side, you have good aerobic condition, you can probably get away with not really doing these workouts, or maybe just doing it once a week. And then the last thing we're going to talk about regarding BJJ Strength and Conditioning, and this isn't really workout stuff, but this is going to allow you to develop the qualities I talked about, develop your strength training, develop your muscles, recover faster, develop your rope training. And if we're not doing the right things outside the gym, it becomes very hard. So the most important thing that we can do is get quality of sleep. Now, everyone has different things. You have kids. It's hard to get to bed on time. But in general, the more hours we can get before 12 a.m., the more productive that sleep is going to be. So, for example, if you get 7 hours, but you get like 3 hours, you go to bed at 9 p.m., versus someone who still gets 7 hours, but they go to bed at like 1 a.m., the person who went to bed at 9 p.m. is going to have more productive sleep. They're going to have better recovery. And then in general, the hours we're looking for, if we can get 7 to 9 hours, that's a really good spot. But even if you cannot get like the hours in, if you can get as much of that, say you can only get 5 or 6, get as much of that sleep before 12 a.m. as you can, you're probably going to be in a decent spot. The next thing I'm going to talk about is protein. Protein is the building block of all tissue in our body. So because we're doing more jiu-jitsu and we're strength training, we're going to be breaking down a lot of tissue. So our needs for protein is much higher than a regular person or even a person who just works out. So in general, we want to get about 1 gram per pound of body weight. If you're someone who carries a lot of body fat, say you're like 20-30% body fat, you can probably lower that number. You can go like 0.7 per gram. If you're pretty lean, I'd probably go 1 gram per body weight. So I'm usually 185, 195. So I usually aim for about 180 to 200 grams of protein, which can be a lot if you haven't done it before. I find the easiest thing to do is spread that through 4 meals. Focus on protein-dense foods like chicken, fish, lean beef, Greek yogurt. Protein shakes are a great way to just get them in quick. Eggs, seafood. So the next one is carbohydrates. Talking more about the complex carbohydrates. So we're not talking about like donuts and chips, but good complex carbohydrates like pasta, rices, potatoes, oatmeal, healthier versions of bread is all going to be good. The carbs are going to help us recover better. It's going to help us get stronger and build muscle mass. Carbs are our preferred fuel for intense exercise. So although we can get away with going low carb, you're just going to make our body work a lot harder. So in general, focus on high quality carbs, like minimally processed carbs, like I said, like rice, potatoes, pasta, that type of stuff. With our protein, and the best time to have this are around our training sessions. So if you have time, like your pre-workout meal, say an hour and a half, 2 hours before you train, it could be some type of protein and some type of carb. And then after your training session, you would do a protein and carb too. Another great way to add carbs is at night. And this seems, from a fat loss standpoint, sometimes people think this is a bad idea. But when you eat carbs, you release serotonin, and that relaxes your muscle system. That gets you kind of tired, and that allows you to get better sleep. And I talked about before how getting better sleep is going to allow us to get better recovery, so that we can develop the qualities that we need so that we can train BJJ for a long time. The last thing I'm going to talk about is hydration. And this is a pretty basic one. We kind of know this, is try to drink about 60, I would say shoot for about half your body weight in ounces. And then if you train, on days you train, for every hour you train, I would add maybe 16 ounces of that. So if you're like me, I'm like 195 now, I think. So, I might shoot for like 100 ounces of water. And then if I'm training for 2 hours, I might aim for 130 ounces. Now, a little tip I'll give you guys, if I talk about hydration numbers, like how many ounces you need, and protein numbers, you're like, oh my God, that's so much, and you're really not doing that much right now, you don't have to make that change right away. Like, you can slowly build up. So say you want to get in like 75 or like 50 grams of protein a day. Maybe like the next month you're going to focus on getting 80 grams of protein, and then the following month now we're going to try to boost to 110. Going from something very low to very high can be very challenging and not sustainable. So feel free to take your time to build that up, but that's kind of eventually where we want to be. So that's all I got for you guys. So this is the BJJ Strength and Conditioning. So again, I talked about the benefits of strength training. I talked about benefits of building that aerobic base so we recover better. And I talked about how we need to build some solid recovery habits so that we can develop these qualities. And it's also that we can be strong and dominant on the mat, have a lot of fun, get injured a lot less so we can stay on the mat, and ultimately train for life. If you have any questions, you can feel free to comment below. If you watch the whole video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.